Hey there, it's Deva here, and I am here to talk with you about the soul work of leadership. Now, what I mean by that is the inner game of leadership, or what you might also call leadership presence, and what's happening on the inside of you, so that as you are manifesting and attempting to manifest what you are really here to do, that you are coming from the strongest internal place possible. And when people see you and feel you, what you say you're up to matches what they're experiencing from you at the same time. So this is very important, and it is a side of leadership that is often somewhat underemphasized. I think of it as the more feminine side of leadership. So most people are focused on what are they doing and visioning and action planning and all the outer steps. But I think it's equally important what is happening on the inside, because your consumers are probably pretty savvy. And if what you're putting forward doesn't really match what they can feel coming from you, it's not going to be as effective and as powerful as it can be. And for you, inside living it, if you have a bunch of things that are going on that you're trying to manage, for example, your stress level, for example, things happening in your personal life, for example, feeling not that confident, or feeling somewhat nervous or afraid, or some part of you saying, I'm a fraud, or I'm not really who they think I am, that all shows up. And so we want you to feel and be resolved inside yourself, so there's coherence. And when there's coherence, that's when you're really able to manifest at the highest level possible. So I'm going to give you a few different scenarios, and I'm going to invite you to imagine how you might feel in response to these different scenarios. And then I'm going to work you through an exercise, an inner game exercise that I do with many of my clients to help you sort out and clear some of what may be blocking you in one or more areas. And for people I work with ongoingly as their mentor, we're doing these kinds of exercises on an ongoing basis, because your life is constantly offering you new situations that you're needing to respond to. And most people need a place where they can really walk it through, breathe it through, and feel their way to navigate through. And so having tools like this kind of exercise in your pocket, as well as a mentor, can be really helpful as you're stepping into your highest destiny. Okay, so let's begin with these different scenarios, and then you're going to choose which of these scenarios is the one you most want to work with. So I want to invite you to imagine that you are very successful in your career, and you're starting to be well known for what you do. So just take a moment, you might even close your eyes, imagine yourself in this place where things are going really well. You are getting a lot of publicity. And some people are loving you, are raving about you. You're developing a larger fan base of people who love your work. At the same time, you are also starting to develop people who are naysayers, who don't like your work, who are maybe jealous of you, that are wanting to tear you down in some way, or who are criticizing something about the work that you're doing. And you have some of that energy coming your way as well. How do you feel on the inside? How do you navigate what might be coming up? And as you think about this, are there little voices inside your head that are saying anything to you? Though they might be saying, you never should have done this, you don't really have what it takes, you're a fraud, or anything else. Just notice if anything comes up for you. Okay, so you can open your eyes again, and I'm going to, or stay closed as you prefer. We're just going to go into another scenario and to see how you might navigate this scenario. So imagine this time that you have a big decision to make in your project or in your organization, and it's a challenging decision, and you've come to clarity that what you need to do is not necessarily going to be popular with other people. It might impact someone's job. It might mean you need to fire someone. You know that this is the right thing, but you also know that some people are really not going to be happy about this decision. And you want people to like you, and yet you know that this is not the most popular decision, but it's what's needed. It's some of the hard part of being a leader. So you're in that situation, and imagine you're about to walk into a room where you have to tell these people you know are not going to like your decision. And just noticing how you're feeling in that situation. What comes up? And how do you navigate what might be happening on the inside of you? Okay, just taking a breath here. Again, noticing what voices might be going off inside your head, noticing your body and how your body might feel. Noticing what resources you may have to draw on to help you navigate. Okay, and now just release that scenario. And now we're going to go to a third scenario. And in this scenario, I want you to imagine that you're about to walk into a room that is filled with investors. And you know that any one of these investors could put a couple $100,000 into your vision or your project. And as you walk into the room, it's a room of mainly men. And they are not your typical audience. You're not used to doing pitches to these investors. You know that they know what they're looking for, and all eyes are on you. So just notice how you feel in that moment. And again, what's happening on the inside of you. Do you feel prepared? Do you feel confident? Do you feel something else? Maybe you feel terrified. Okay, so you can also take a breath and release that scenario and just see if any one of those scenarios had the most energy for you, where it felt like something that is could happen in your life, or that where you had some sort of almost like gripping feeling or nervous feeling, the one that felt the most challenging of all three of them. And if you're like most of my clients, most people have a lot that goes on inside of them. And so in addition to navigating and managing everything that they're doing in the outside world, they're also needing to navigate this whole internal landscape. So I'm going to take you through a little exercise, and I'm going to invite you to choose the scenario that had the most energy for you. And if none of those scenarios had any energy for you and they didn't feel very realistic, or they weren't working for you, just choose some scenario in your own life where you're in your business and you know that you're feeling challenged and that there's something going on inside of you which is hard to tolerate. And like there's a scared feeling, a nervous feeling, a feeling of being like a deer in the headlight where you kind of freeze, that sort of scenario, okay? So just take a moment and bring that scenario to your mind's eye. And this is easier done with eyes closed. And now I want to invite you to just notice what are the sensations and the emotions in particular that are going on. And I want you to just name those silently to yourself. And you might also notice it by a sensation in your body. So there might be something you don't know what it is, but if you just feel into your body, there might feel a place where it feels like tight or contracted. So just scan your body and see if there's a place that is like that. And if so, just invite some breath into that place and see if you can put words to that feeling in your body. And if you could put emotions to it. I'm going to invite you to imagine like there's a little plant there and there's these different leaves. So the different leaves have different emotions attached to them. So for example, one leaf might be fear. Another leaf could be anger. Another leaf could be nervousness. Just see whatever's true. What are the words? And then when you find something, I'm going to ask you to then look underneath. What's underneath that? If there was something else, if you went a layer, a little bit deeper inside yourself, what emotion might you find there? Could be numbness. There could also be some positive leaves, excitement. Just notice what's there. And now particularly focusing on the ones that have the most energy, that feel a little challenging, ones that are more like sadness or anger or fear. And I'm going to invite you to imagine that you are taking this leaf and you're going back in time with the leaf to the seed, right when that little plant got planted, and see if you can get a snapshot of a time in your life. It's usually a younger time. Maybe when you were 10 years old, 5 years old, sometimes even in utero. Like when this seed got planted, and just trust whatever comes. Just take the first thing that comes. So now I'm going to invite you to imagine that whatever age came, I want you to see yourself in your mind's eye at that age. And that being is who we call the keeper of the seed. This being, in response to whatever life situation you were in, planted a seed in you that perhaps is no longer serving, but that has sprouted leaves that are somewhat challenging: nervousness, anger, tension, sadness. So see if you can get in touch with that little younger one. Seeing that being in front of you, and first just bring that little being into your lap and imagine you are showering this younger part with love. So much love. And just thanking this younger part for being here. And now seeing if this younger part has anything to say about what was going on at that time, that maybe you didn't have the words to say about it, or you didn't know how to communicate about it, but just what was happening and how are you feeling? And just let this little one communicate with you telepathically. Now I want to let this little one know that we are going to be releasing some of this pattern with this little one's permission, because it's not totally serving you for who you are in your life now. Things have changed, you've changed, you have a lot more tools, and you don't need to respond in the same way that you did when you were so much younger. So asking this little one if it would be willing to release this seed, this pattern that got put in place. And if you're getting this sense that yes, see if there's anything this little one needs to have happen beforehand. This is also the question, if it's saying no, what would you need to be willing to release this pattern, this seed? And if it gives you, he or she gives you an answer, see if you can respond by reassuring that little one in whatever way you can. And now if this little one is willing to release this seed, I'm going to invite you to begin to release this energy by doing something that may seem a little bit different for you. But I'm going to ask you to start making sound. And this is a sound that is the sound of release. So if you are wanting to release sadness or fear, I want to invite you to imagine you're releasing the sound of fear. So you're making the sound that sounds like fear to you. You're imagining the fear leaving your body, and you're also moving your body in alignment. So the easiest thing to do is to get up out of your chair and to start by bouncing, physically bouncing and shaking and making sound. So it might look something like this. Or your own sound. It could be shrieks. It could be any kind of sound that you want to make to release this pattern, and really moving your body, shaking, letting your movements be as big or as small as feels good to you, but you're like shaking this pattern out of your system. Really let this energy move, and imagine as you're moving this energy through, you're clearing years worth of this pattern that's been held in the cells of your body, and you've been just like grinning and bearing it. So really use this opportunity, move it all the way through, okay? Take as much time, pause the video, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, so you're back. You've done some clearing. And now I want to invite you to just sit in stillness for a few moments. Just coming back to your center point. So now that you've cleared all this space, on the other side, what I'm going to invite you to do is fill back up this space. This is where we're repatterning a new frequency in your field. So I want to invite you to choose now, what is the energy that you want to pull in? You might choose a word like peace. You could choose confidence. You could choose joy, vitality. You could choose a combination, but just take a few moments now to see what do you want to fill up your field with, so that you feel this on the inside, but this is also what you're portraying on the outside to people who are experiencing you. So just take a moment, go inside, find those frequencies, those qualities you want to pull into your field. Okay, and now again, I'm going to invite you to work with sound, and I'm going to invite you to get up out of your chair again, and this time make the sound of this positive frequency that you're wanting to pull in. And again, this sound can be as big or as small, as multi-tonal or as simple as you want. And I'm going to give you a little demo, but then I'm going to invite you again to pause the recording and spend as much time as you need to really feel like you've given it full voice. And imagine yourself like a magnetic attracting station. You're putting out this frequency, and then you're going to be calling that frequency in and manifesting from that place. So I'll just give you a little demo. So I'm going to call in for me the frequency of love. And here's what sounds like love to me. So now find your own frequency you want to call in, pause the video, give it full voice, and then come back on the other side. Okay, so you are now back. You've called in this frequency, and as the last step now, I want you to check back in with your young one and see how that little one is doing in this whole process. Ask that young one if there's anything that she or he needs to feel fully embraced as part of this process. Listen for the answer. Make a commitment to make good and follow through on that request, whatever, if there is a request from your inner young one. Now finally close your eyes, and I want to invite you to imagine that you're walking back into that scenario that we examined at the beginning. And you're walking back in with this cleared out energy, and now you're filled up with this other frequency. And I want to imagine that you're walking back into that scenario and you are rocking it. Whatever is the best outcome that could happen, I want you in your mind's eye, you're going to be training your mirror neurons here, that you're just like nailing it. So just see yourself now having the best possible outcome possible from that scenario. Just notice what you're saying, how you're feeling, how the people around you are responding. And anything else that feels significant about it. And just take this as an imprint, a snapshot in your being that you can go back to the next time you're in a situation where you need to pull on some of this good energy. All right, and now you can open up your eyes again. So I hope you had a good experience there. If your eyes aren't already open, please open your eyes now. And just notice how you're feeling. Just check your body out. Notice how you're feeling on the inside. Now, this was just a very short little experiential, but this is the kind of work that I do with people when I am mentoring them. And while it may seem different, or why do I need to do this, it actually can have an amazing impact on the level of confidence, the level of poise, the level of strength that you portray, which is all part of your power and your leadership presence, that you really feel like a leader on the inside and people experience you as that on the outside. And most people need support to navigate various different situations. And so that's why I personally like to work with people in an ongoing way. Now, I want to just tell you one other thing as an example. There's a woman that I was working with in our mentorship program, and she is running an amazing organization. She's already a public speaker. She's a founder of this organization. She has a TED Talk. She's really far along in her career, and she's someone that was one of our past mentees. And as I was digging with her to figure out what was going on the inside, because she was not raising as much money as she had hoped, and it didn't really match up. She was this great woman, but the money she was raising was really small. And as we were digging deep to figure out what was going on, we realized that she's a very spiritual person. And somewhere along the way, she had embedded a belief that in order for her to be walking her talk as a spiritual woman, she needed to also somehow like take a vow of poverty of some level. And so she felt like it wasn't okay for her organization to be wildly successful because she had to somehow be poor in order to be spiritual. And so we went through a process a little bit different, but connected to what we just did here together. And as she reworked that process and got comfortable with raising money, because she realized that what she's up to is so important in the world, that she is doing people a favor actually by taking money away from things they might be investing in that are not contributing to the world she wants to see, and instead put them into her organization. She's actually being a living embodiment of her spiritual path. And as we reworked that, she got much more comfortable fundraising. She's had a major breakthrough and has started raising quite a lot more money. So we worked on that with her. We have another mentee who's stepping in as a keynote speaker, but he feels like he's a shy guy, and his story about himself is he's a recovering shy guy. Rescripting that, helping him step into not being a shy guy, but being a powerful speaker. Again, the way that he's now showing up in front of the workshop room has majorly changed, and he's being a lot more successful, being invited to do a lot more talks. So these are just a few examples of why doing this inner work, while it may seem different or not as important, it actually is fundamental to you being the kind of leader that you want and need to be. So I hope this was somewhat helpful, and I look forward to hopefully hearing from you about how you are rocking it in your own world. Thanks so much for watching.